Okay, we'll be back to order to finish up our meeting. I'm going to direct everybody's attention to G14, the creation or potential creation of the Council for a Sustainable Local Economy. And page 354. Yes, sir. This is item G14. As each of us know, that there's been several of us have been contacted by a small group of chamber members that believe that the county's not doing enough to spending on economic development, and that spending is not always the answer, and we need to think outside the box that may lead to an answer to help out our local economy. The initiative that is before you to create a council to support local economy is aimed squarely at providing to improve the local economy and creating new jobs. This is a concerted effort, or should be a concerted effort of the whole community to focus on building a more self-reliant, resilient local economy so that all can prosper. A lot of the ideas or the concepts in this is something I've talked to Commissioner Poole about. I know that Commissioner Minot, I talked to her about it as well, is that more needs to be done for our local economy and for our businesses that are here, and whether it's an educational process, whether, what is it that we need to do to keep items or keep our dollars from leaving the county as best we can. And this is one way that I think that we can do it. I think it's very important is with the success that we've seen just in the short time with the Food Policy Council, that this potentially has the benefit of helping as well. I think that if we are to move forward with this council, that it needs to be a diverse group that is not is to get other people that will come to the table with some new ideas. I think it needs to be broad enough to get to tap into the brilliance and the genius that we have in the Cabarrus County, as well as some of the others that are able to put a plan in action. You may want to think about it, but how are you going to implement it? And I think that this is a good opportunity that we can move forward and we can look at something like this. I know that we've talked about it, Commissioner Poole. I don't know if you have any thoughts or any additional comments.
Just that I think it was stated earlier, this is something that it's not something separate and off to the side. I mean, this is one aspect of economic development, not all aspects of economic development. So the hope would be that multiple groups would come together and work on this, all of us work on it together. I ask students, where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? And I think we need to look at Cabarrus County and ask that same question of Cabarrus County as a whole, whether they're business owners or someone like me at this point in time, where I would like for my children to come back here and have jobs or create jobs. And how do we decide as a community what we need to do? And I keep giving, you're probably getting tired of hearing that, I keep giving Commissioner Minot credit. I gave, well, let me point out, I think my understanding now is that the book came from the Cabarrus Bank and Trust Board of Directors, and I had misstated that last time. And it's not like the idea is it's the only thing. I mean, that's just one aspect of as we've already mentioned, the small mart revolution. So, but I think we need to look at what we want to do here. We've got the 10% initiative with North Carolina, which ties into the state issue of buying locally, spending 10% of your dollars locally, and I think that issue is really North Carolina, but we want to look at doing things like that locally and helping as many people as we can in Cabarrus County. And I know that Commissioner Cabarrus, I mean, I've had comments with most all of you about, where do we want to be and how can we get there together? And I'm hopeful with the good things that the Food Council has done. I mean, they just sound like that group got together and it's just been, really, really active. And they're going down that path. I'd like to see us do something with our local economy too. We all want jobs. We need to decide what kind of jobs we really want. We don't want minimum wage jobs or underemployed jobs. We want good jobs. And my definition of a good job may be different than somebody else's, but we need to find a way to work together, and I'm hoping that this is an initiative that we can pull in and work together and communicate really well through the community. So I'm excited about it. I think it'll be a really good initiative for the Board of Commissioners to undertake.
Well, I think it's another thing, the advantage that this presents is allows ideas or concepts that are not being discussed, an opportunity for them to be discussed. And what I mean by that is, I'm not aware of anybody from Cabarrus County going to the companies or some of the larger companies that are going into Mecklenburg County and say, we got suppliers here. You know, Electrolux has moved in. Well, we got some suppliers here that can provide those, provide some items. Look at Cabarrus County. And even if we don't have a supplier, I know this, the larger the company is, the more likely it is they're going to have functions and need caterers. And we've got some very good restaurateurs here in Cabarrus County that could do that catering. And those are little things that I don't know if any of y'all know whether that's being done or not, but I certainly would hope it's being done. If it's not being done, then it needs to be done. But this gives the opportunity for some of those ideas to be discussed. Doesn't mean they have to be implemented, but at least what's the benefit? What's the detriment? How do we move forward? And if it's going to be successful, what are we going to do? How do we get it implemented? So I think it gives the opportunity for people to think outside the box instead of, well, we did this last year, let's try it the same way. Well, we all know that the economic environment is completely different and vastly different today than it was in 2008, and we've got to change with the times. So I think this will give the opportunity to have those discussions and move forward with it.
What I like is how, on the summary on our agenda, the line that I like the best is the Board of Commissioners seeks to engage the community. And often, I don't know that shit often, but, you know, I have people that come up to me and say, well, I'm glad that's you, because I sure wouldn't want to do that job. I know everybody up here, all 5 of us have had that said to us, you know, well, I'm glad that's you. You know, I'm glad you have another meeting to go to and won't get home till late tonight. And that's fine. My world has been in, you know, Cabarrus County my entire life. I mean, this is what I know. I don't know, or I don't have experiences that take me out of this realm, if you will. And I'm not going anywhere, but that doesn't mean that somebody that's moved into the area, I pick on Commissioner Crew, but, you know, doesn't have good ideas. And how are we going to know? I mean, you can email me anytime you want to, but that doesn't mean that, you know, a lot of people really don't take advantage of that. So I am really hopeful that we can engage the community and that we can find out what the community wants, not just what 5 people want who are crazy enough to run for office, but what does the community want? And that means everybody. And that's what I try to do on a daily basis, is find out what people I'm with, what they want, and try to help meet that need. And I'm hopeful that this group will be able to do that. So,
yeah. Well, it certainly gives the idea, and when I was talking about the genius or the work ethic, is hopefully the council, if this is something that this board thinks is important, I think hopefully the council will have people like a Ben Minot or like a Roy Davis, or like some of these that had an idea and figured out, I know how to make the mousetrap better, because that is just a synergy that will be created. And you know, the studies have proven that the more you spend locally on a local business, the more it stays locally. And it doesn't mean that we don't, like you said, it doesn't mean it's not but for, it's in conjunction with the idea of getting other businesses here as well. So, Commissioner Caruth, you look like you're going to say something.
Always. I think it's just a couple of things. One of them is the idea, because I remember back 5 or 6 years ago when we had the SWOT analysis was done by Market Street in Kannapolis about what, the research campus, and when we were looking at all the stuff involved with it at the time. I remember one of the things that came out as a threat or a weakness in the community was that we had no entrepreneur mindset. We unfortunately in the South, especially in North Carolina, it seems like any town that was successful back in the early part of the last century or mid part of the last century was a town that had at its center either a textile manufacturing plant or furniture. And what happened was that just like here, it happened here. We've been a very paternalistic community, and I got thinking about it, figured out the other day, is that you would think, and I'm not saying this is bad about anybody in the family, but you hear people talk about the days when Charlie Cannon, working for Charlie Cannon. Well, Charlie Cannon, I think, was gone out of the scene by, I believe, 1961. So the people that my dad started his professional life in 1956. So you're talking, he's 77, nearly 77 years old. So you don't have people in this community anymore that live, but that worked in that environment. But we still have a very paternalistic view of what we're waiting on a job. All we're just waiting on a job when people have ideas and dreams that can be developed. And we got to get that environment there. But saying that, I also think that we've got to make sure, and I think you said it well, Commissioner Poole, a while ago, we got to make sure that the community and the public understands that this is not a competition with what we're doing right now in economic development. There's room for both. You go to Asheville, North Carolina, there is a strong, thriving artisan and craftsman community there, as we well know. But if you go just not too far south of Asheville, you will also see huge manufacturing facilities and companies that old economy is balanced there in Asheville. I think that it's good that we do this. I think we got to make sure that we bring the community along with us. I was looking today at the Small Mart Revolution checklist, and there was 5 items for community builders: education, and that's helping key members of the community in every area understand the virtues of a small mart economy. Build grassroots education about what businesses we have local and how we best support them, with what we do. Identifying the leaks, getting key stakeholders to develop the vision for where we need to go, and how an implementation plan, which includes everybody. I think we got to understand that we're not. I hope that as we go forward with this, that we make sure that we're bringing along those people that may be a little reluctant, a little skeptical about it, that we're including them, because I think by the fact that this initiated actually with one of our local banks, I think it's important that we see that. But we also understand that even though we have a list every year of our largest employers, that's the largest employer in Cabarrus County. How many people are going to work every day in Charlotte and their job is with Bank of America or Wells Fargo, or a first level service provider to those two banking institutions? And those people, there's a lot of people in Cabarrus County that work for those two. So if the public, may look and say, well, why are you saying we should go local on banking, for instance, when my livelihood comes from a job, at the bank, and that's just the fact of where we live at. How about Lowe's or Food Lion? That they're considered local companies, but they're reached far and beyond our community. So anyway.
Commissioner Minot?
I think one of the biggest things that can come out of this is just creating an environment for entrepreneurs, young people who have ideas and they think now, well, I'm going to have to go to Charlotte, or I'm going to have to go to Raleigh, or I'm going to have to go somewhere to get this up and going. If we can nurture those types of people and become known as a community that aids entrepreneurs with new ideas, and if there's ways that we can link businesses together better than they're linked today. I know so many times I've just been a simple idea, but I've been in a group where they're having a fundraiser and they're going to have barbecue, and I thought, where are you getting the barbecue? Oh, it's coming out of Mecklenburg County, that kind of thing. We've just got to, a big education piece for people to understand how important it is to look here first before they make a decision. Not that will necessarily be the only decision they make.
Commissioner Pruitt, do you have any
Well, number one, I can't believe any group wants to go to Mecklenburg County for barbecue. That just absolutely blows my mind. You ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we put under new business to create a council for a sustainable local economy.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. What I would like is that when this is presented on the 20th, that we actually have a little bit more information in regards to the application process. I was contacted over the weekend, I think it was over the weekend, about how do people apply for different boards and different committees, and maybe we can pop it up on the screen and say, here's the application, and in big bold letters, here's the website and where to go to make it easy, because it is important. It is important not only for this, but for other boards, because I know that with the Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, we have, I think, 7 vacancies right now, and I would ask that anybody seriously consider doing that. I had a family member recently in a nursing home for about 2.5 weeks, and just going in there and seeing the conditions and seeing that it was in a very good shape. The people were very well attended while I was there, and I went in at different times. You know, it's peace of mind. You know, I look at it as a better business bureau for that agency, and being able to research it. The next matter we have is G15, which is page 360, and that is we have been requested to host the NCACC for 2011. Mr. Day.
Before you get started, Mr. Chairman, I feel I should disclose to the board, obviously, that I'm on staff at NCACC. I don't know of any perceived conflict of interest other than it from the other end. As a staff person, there are staff people that work on this with the association. I don't get involved in that. But I feel best interest, it may be best for me to ask to be recused from this, since it's, you know, that way I don't see any sense that I'm trying to influence things one way or the other.
We have a motion to recuse Mr. Caruth from the discussion of this matter. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thanks. Well, the good news is that Cabarrus County was selected to host the NCACC annual conference, and that brings a lot of folks here from out of town. They stay here and spend money here. But there are some obligations that go along with that, and I was contacted by the folks at the NCACC and asked whether the county would be comfortable meeting those obligations. Some of those consist of providing staff to give tours, help run the conference, give directions, just any number of things. That's a commitment that I think we probably could meet. One of the other commitments that was a bit different is a fundraising commitment. And typically, although there's not a target amount, I was told that the normal amount is $40,000 to $60,000, and that typically counties request, some of the sponsorships are in kind or products, but they ask the local county to try and raise that money somehow. I told them that I have concerns about asking businesses to contribute money to a function like this, and didn't really feel as though I would be able to do that. But I said that I would bring it up to the board and ask you folks whether you would like to embark on an effort like that. Regardless of the activity, I've always been reluctant and have, in fact, asked the staff not to ask businesses typically for any sorts of contributions except in unusual circumstances, or in particular for some senior center activities. But if certainly the board can simply appropriate some money, it's not as though this effort doesn't pay off for local businesses in the county. It certainly does, because there's probably going to be somewhere close to 400 people, and most often in this conference, their families attending the conference. So certainly there's an economic benefit to the county from doing this. The CVB has already been working with that group, the NCACC. They have negotiated terms for, with the Embassy Suites, but they are waiting to hear from us before they sign anything. And I asked Mr. Downs to check with the CVB to see if there was any grant money available. And
Yeah, most of the direct contacts now are directly with the Embassy Suites and Terry Crawford's staff. The CVB, from the phone call now, they are joining in with them. And they said that there is a potential, that the staff, on the staff level, there's a potential to recommend to the board to approve somewhere in $3,000 to $4,000 to start the seed money. So that would be something they would need to bring to the actual board for approval.
I think that we ought to seriously consider this board appropriating monies for next year, because it'll be in next year's budget, an amount, you know, whether it's 40, 50, 60,000, whether it's 5,000, whatever this board decides. But I think that what would be good is to, if any monies are appropriated, the monies are appropriated with the idea of purchasing those goods locally, such as if it's, you know, there's going to be coffees, and I would say use some of those monies to purchase from S&D Coffee so that it's a local, you know, that's local. If it's foods, or if it's something that normally a company would sponsor, we purchase it from a local company to show what we have locally, and so that may drum up some business that otherwise is not there. So that I agree with you that asking for donations, I don't want it to be a quid pro quo. If we ask for a donation, then they're going to ask for what are we going to get for it in the future. But I do think if the idea is a sum of monies, if we place it aside and we use that for local purchases, it not only helps out the local people, but also gets their name recognition in front of a body of people that normally would not be, maybe.
I think it's a great idea to approach the NCACC with that requirement for some local spending. In particular, food. The executive chef at the Embassy Suites is on the county's Food Policy Council, and you know, it's a perfect match. And again, it's one that we could see a real impact here locally.
I mean, I think because I've been to one, and there was some effort to talk about local businesses. But I think it's something, you know, the flavor of Cabarrus, and see what all we have to offer, not only with businesses, but with foods and the like. So I think that if this board thinks that it's appropriate, I think we need to make a decision, what's the dollar amount, and how it should be appropriated, unless this board believes that it's appropriate to seek donations from those companies, independent. Building settling. That was Bob. So that, you know, if we, as a consensus, if we're comfortable with budgeting that into next year's budget, then that way, I believe you can get in touch with the NCACC to say we can do this, and this is how we'd like to contribute.
I mean, I think that if there's an effort like this available to us, that we can help our local businesses. I mean, obviously, if you've got 400 families in town, it's a lot of heads in beds and people eating, and, you know, just all the recreation. I mean, hopefully Concord Mills will get a lot of effort. Speedway, if people want to go out there. I mean, there's all kinds of things I think that can benefit to showcase Cabarrus County, and that feeds back into the previous item about sustainable local economy. I don't know what amount should be appropriated, but since it's in next year's budget, you would have a little bit of time to kind of get your hands around that. I'm not one for turning away donations. If any businesses want to come up and say, you know, we would like to donate these products,
I think the
or
offer,
something of that
yeah.
nature, then I think, you know, that's always a good thing. But
Yeah.
I'm not real good at going out and sticking my hand out either, so I wouldn't really want to do that. Do we need to put this on for an agenda item to approve, or?
If we have a consensus, I believe that will be sufficient to allow Mr. Day or Mr. Downs to move forward.
I think we should move forward with it.
Okay,
Yeah, this would be a real plus for our county,
yeah.
real plus.
Would it be held at the Embassy Suites or at the arena?
The conference itself would be held there, but one of the things they've asked us to assist with is also lining up venues for other activities. For example, y'all are familiar with the Big Horn of Plenty dinner, and so we would help locate a place for that, whether it's the arena, whether it's a speedway, but we have lots of opportunities.
Is there anything else that's needed by staff for this item? Okay. I believe that does it for our new business. We have the appointment to boards and committees, which has already been moved over. I would call to each one of the commissioners. Well, let's get Commissioner Kruth back in. Then we have the reports, if you'll look at that. I don't believe there's anything else that we have to do except for to go into closed session to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses. Is there anything I'm missing, Mrs. Honeycutt, before I move forward? Okay, we have a motion to go into closed session to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the county.
So moved.
We have a second? We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And then afterwards, we will be adjourning. Thank you.